Hey everybody, Tekking101 here, and welcome back to another What If scenario video. Ooh, these are always a lot of fun to make. I know you guys like them, where we take a look at the vast history of One Piece and we try to craft a parallel universe that might be even more interesting than the stuff we already got. What if Zoro, instead of being a master swordsman, was a master bowman? What if Nami was a B-cup? What if Luffy had a scar under his left eye instead of his right? Actually, wait, is it under his left eye? He's not up there. Oh, no, it is just under his left eye. Okay, well, some parallel universes are more interesting than others. The point is, these are a lot of fun to, just think of ideas and stuff. And this video idea in particular comes to us from a user named Petrus, so thank you, Petrus. Also, thank you for using a very simple username, instead of just like, this video idea comes to you from random YouTuber 63942 Omega Plus. But, okay, so, basically, do you guys remember Marine Fleet? If you need a recap, I'll give you a brief one. Whitebeard attacks the Marines, Ace gets fisted, Blackbeard's a douche, and Shanks is awesome. At the end of that war, it would seem that the Marines are the ones that emerged victorious. They're the ones that kind of get to shout to the heavens like, "We took this day!" They set out to execute Ace, and while it wasn't the way it was supposed to be, Ace did end up getting executed by one of the members of the Marines. The Navy Admiral Akainu took Ace's life. But on the other hand, it wasn't really much of a victory, because they lost a lot of their numbers, and Blackbeard showed up, and even though the Marines were able to, well, they didn't take out Whitebeard, I mean, they contributed to it, but Blackbeard and his crew were the ones that ultimately laid the death nail on Whitebeard. It actually made a situation even worse for everybody, because Blackbeard ended up stealing the Gura Gura no Mi. So yeah, Whitebeard's out of the picture now, but the Gura Gura no Mi is still in the hands of a Yonko, and that Yonko is much more evil than Whitebeard ever was, and who would use it for much more nefarious means. So, not really much of a victory on the Marines there. And it's because of all these things, and I think compiling other issues, that Sengoku decided to finally step down. He's like, I can't take this anymore as a fleet admiral. And Kong basically said, okay, well, it kind of sucks to accept this resignation, and Sengoku still stays on as a general inspector, or whatever that entails. His hair turns pure white over the time skip, so we could see he was probably pretty stressed out over the war. Either that, or he just ran out of Just for Men hair color the entire time. But that means, of course, there's a new fleet admiral in town, and that would be Akainu. As we find out from the time skip, Jinbei explains to Luffy that, yeah, after the issue with the war, Sengoku recommended Aokiji be the next fleet admiral. Now, Aokiji was not someone that really wanted that position. Aokiji's motto has always been lazy justice. He's a good Marine. He's a really strong guy, and he's not just gonna let the bad guys go. He does have a sense of justice, but he's more of just like, justice is something that is not objective. It changes depending on where you're standing. The place that you're standing on top of you think is the bastion for justice, like Marine Fleet. It could change if the Marines decide to do something really nefarious. There's not like, this one group is always just 100% of the time, and the group that they're fighting is automatically unjust. That's not how Aokiji views it. And yeah, he is just generally lazy. He sleeps a lot, so probably for those reasons, he didn't really want to become a fleet admiral. However, when Sengoku recommended him and Akainu caught wind of this, Akainu's like, oh, hell to the no! We're not letting you become a freaking fleet admiral. Because Akainu's thing is like the exact opposite of Aokiji. He's absolute justice. He stands with the Marines 100%. He's like, you gotta do with the Marines. The Marines are justice, the pirates are evil. That's the way it is. I'm gonna put a stop to this pirate crap once and for all. And we've seen that before. I think the most like they clashed heads before was during the Ohara incident, back in the day when they were both vice admirals, Aokiji and Akainu. Aokiji, of course, was, the evacuation and everything. You have to get the citizens on the boats. It was only the scholars that were really the ones that were being tried here for trying to study poneglyphs. And Akainu was also there, and he ordered the entire evacuation ship to be destroyed, to be blown up. It included women and children and elderly people, and it was like people that didn't even have anything to do with the researchers. It was innocent civilians that just got eliminated there, and Aokiji kind of looked at him and just like, man, justice can make a man do some really messed up things. He's kind of becoming a little bit corrupted in that sense. You know, it's ironic, you know, how he has such a strong view for justice, and this leads him to eliminating, like, you know, innocent civilians and stuff. And Akainu's perspective on it was, hey, one of the scholars could have gotten on that ship, and we had to make sure they were all eliminated. Akainu wasn't looking at the situation like, how come these scholars are being persecuted at all? How come we have to orders to kill them? Oh, because they're studying poneglyphs. Okay, well, why is studying poneglyphs bad? Because ancient weapons. I'm like, okay, but... You know, like, you have to kind of stop and, like, kind of look at the bigger picture, like, what's going on here, not just blindly accepting, you know, whoever studies poneglyphs are bad, those scholars are studying poneglyphs. Okay, sir, I'll go eliminate all of them. You know, that's just the way he views it, very straightforward. So... Right, and, you know, even though Aokiji doesn't have a lot of interest in the position of Fleet Admiral, he decided, I can't let this guy take over. If this guy was in control of the Marines, if he was calling the shots, who knows what the hell would happen. So, they decide to have a battle over it. We don't know which one, you know, confronted which person first. Most likely Akainu. Akainu probably just, like, gotten up in Aokiji's face and just, like, you know, I'm not letting you have this. I'm like, well, I can't let you have it either, man. And so they sail to Punk Hazard, which is this desolate island in the New World. Punk Hazard at this time was just a barren wasteland. There was the accident that occurred a long time ago with Vegapunk and Caesar. You know, mostly Caesar's fault. In fact, entirely Caesar's fault. So it, like, wiped out all of the greenery on the island. It was just a barren wasteland. So they duked it out on that island for 10 days. Just 10 days. Admiral-level fight. You know, both have, like, top-level Logia powers. Both are probably awakened, which is the reason that the entire geography and also the weather of Punk Hazard got altered. Half of it is now a frozen wasteland, icebergs and giant, you know, constant blizzard blowing in, and the other half, you know, volcanoes erupting and just a massive, like, rivers of lava and magma. Just, you know, the fight between these two for just 10 days altered the very landscape of Punk Hazard. So I'm assuming that once you become an awakened Logia user, that is the things you affect. You affect the weather itself. Does that mean that Raijin Island was, you know, created by a former user of the Goro Goro no Mi? Yeah, who knows? That's another video. It really does suck, though, that we didn't get to see that fight. That's one of the things. I need to make a list of, like, the top 10 things in the One Piece story that Oda needs to show us. And one of those things is definitely going to be that fight between Aokiji and Akainu on Punk Hazard, because I'm sure that was a manly brawl to end all manly brawls. I mean, I could try to do a reenactment of it, but... I don't really have much of a budget to go. You know what? Screw it. Screw it. They didn't show it in the anime. All we got was them just kind of, you know, having a staring contest with each other. So what the hell? Just screw it. This is the best you're going to get until Oda decides to freaking show this fight. Oh, there is no way in hell I'm gonna let you be the new Fleet Admiral, Aokiji. You're too lazy. The Marines need a strong role model like me and my magma fist. Oh, well, I wasn't really interested in the position, Akainu, but I can't really let you have it either. I mean, it's nothing personal. I just kind of think you're an asshole. Remember Ohara? You killed like a bunch of civilians like little kids. That was kind of a dick move. It had to be done, Aokiji, because of justice! Justice, justice, justice! You got problems, dude. Yeah, well, you're lazy. Let's fight! Okay. You too! Rip off your leg! Out! Magma's stronger than ice, you know! Yeah, well, I got... hockey! Okay, what the fuck, you... Okay. Alright. Okay, so, I'll let you live, but, it's not because I'm nice or anything, it's just, you know, justice! Fleet Admiral! Gonna take over the world! Alright, bye. Oh, man, that guy's a jerk. Alright, I'm gonna go join up with the Blackbeard Pirates for reasons that I do not know yet. Kind of a douches to this island, but, nah, I'm sure nothing important is gonna go on here in the future. Bye, Punk Hazard. My god, man. I've seen some pretty damn emotional fights in my day. But that right there, that takes the cake. Okay, so, with that being said, Akainu comes out victorious. He defeats Aokiji. He takes off his... They both get seriously damaged in this brawl. It's not like an easy victory. Aokiji loses a leg and gets some pretty bad scarring on the side of him. Akainu lets him live, I guess out of just respect for being a fellow admiral, and they've known each other for a long time. So, alright, I'll let you be alive. And, you know, Akainu then leaves and becomes the fleet admiral. Aokiji decides to just defect from the Marines. I guess he decides, you know, I'm not going to be a part of this anymore if that's Akainu's reign. Maybe Aokiji is planning on, you know, doing something later on down the line, but he just knew he couldn't, under Akainu's oppression, he just wouldn't be able to do what he needed to do. So he left, and now he's in, you know, with the Blackbeard pirates. So, the general premise of this what if, and sorry it took a little bit while to get to it, is, what would have happened if Aokiji, you know, came out victorious in that fight? What if Aokiji won and became the next fleet admiral? So what would be, like, some major differences going on here, okay? Well, to understand this, we really need to look at the changes that Akainu made and then compare them like, okay, could this be a change that Aokiji would make? So, as we've already stated, Akainu is a huge fan of absolute justice. So one of the first things he did, he was only fleet admiral for just 2 years. In that 2-year time, he made some big decisions to change the layout of the Marine structure, okay? So he moved Marine HQ from Paradise, the side of the Grand Line, to the New World side of the Grand Line. They flipped the bases of G1 and Marine HQ. And the reason that Akainu did this was because he was putting his foot down. He was having Marine presence in the New World, letting the land of the Yonko know that he's going to, you know, be different. He's going to try to take them down. He's the force that they need to worry about, okay? Akainu, very strict guy, so he's just like, you know what? Screw it. I don't care if they're Yonko. I don't care how strong they are. They are pirates. We are the Marines. We need to capture them. This shit's not going to happen. We just need to do it now. So that's probably why he's just like, we're not lollygagging around anymore. These are the major threats. We know they're the major threats. Now, Akainu's not stupid. He's just a little bit more, you know, he's very strict, very kind of hot-blooded, so to speak. So he's not just going to charge in after a Yonko, you know. If he did that, if he just creating a direct war with Kaido, probably not in his best interest, but that was showing the Yonko. He's like, he's not going to be the same as Sengoku or any of the fleet admirals that came before him. He's going to really, you know, lay down the law with these Yonko in one way or the other, and he's going to try to end their reign with him as the fleet admiral. That's what he's no more nonsense kind of thing. So that's one thing he changed. Something else Akainu changed is because there was only one admiral now, because Aokiji left and Akainu got promoted, you only have Kizaru left as the admiral, so you need to have 3 of them, I guess, as like a standard. You know, there has to be 3 high admirals to like maintain the strength of the Marines, I guess. So he held this world military draft and recruited Fujitora and Ryukyu. Now, this world military draft might have very well have happened under Aokiji, and I think it had to have had, because, you know, the Marines were kind of weak in numbers there after the war, and they were missing out on 2 admirals. We don't know if Akainu would have stuck around with the Marines if Aokiji was around. I don't think that's the case. I'll get more into that in a second, but basically I think the world military draft would have still happened, but I think the final decision to make Fujitora and Ryukyu admirals was Akainu's, and Akainu would obviously pick people that, you know, he trusted, that would go in line with what he, you know, he said and what his teachings were, his absolute justice. Now, when it comes to Fujitora, you know, the tiger kind of bit the hand of the dog on that one, because Fujitora kind of went against Akainu during Dressrosa. But as for Green Bull, Ryukyu, we don't know. Green Bull could have the exact same philosophy as Akainu, for all we're aware of. But yeah, so that's something else he changed. He added the new admirals, and also, it seems that after the incident in Dressrosa, he was meeting with the Gorosei, and during this meeting, it really seemed like they were at odds now, like they weren't getting along. The Gorosei are trying to tell Akainu basically, hey, look, yeah, you're the fleet admiral, you can control the Marines, but you still need to know your place. You don't have as much power as you think that you do. And, you know, they seem to be like, Sakazuki's now realizing, like, oh, you guys control everything, and you're making decisions that I don't agree with, like with the Doflamingo shit, like letting him do as he pleases. That angers me. I'm the fleet admiral. I will not stand for this. And the Gorosei are like, yeah, you're the fleet admiral, but we're like we're higher up than you are, Sonny. You really need to learn how to like know your place and just listen to what your orders you're given. And so Sakazuki's starting to really understand that the position he vaunted for, that he thought he would be able to change so much, really is not as powerful as he thinks. And that's really the only things we've seen so far from the Marines, other than the fact that because Akainu's now in charge, probably much more tough to join the Marines and kind of kind of get higher rankings and stuff. I'm sure Akainu was a little bit more of a hard ass in that end. Much more directing, going after pirates and stuff, much more forceful there. But those are like the three main points that we have to address here, you know. How would Aokiji handle these a little bit different? Alright. Well, let's just, you know, cut right to the end of the battle at Punk Hazard. Instead of Aokiji laying defeated, it's Akainu laying defeated. Aokiji's, you know, standing over his friend. I think that, you know, Aokiji doesn't care for him very much. He's kind of an asshole. He doesn't agree with his sense of justice. He thinks he's a little dangerous, but I think they're still colleagues, and while Akainu didn't agree with Aokiji, he let him live, so I don't think Aokiji would be the one to deliver the death blow, alright? He would just be like, alright, we had this fight, I won, fair and square, you can admit that, ice trumps magma, you know, just saying, but, yeah, I'm gonna be the new Fleet Admiral, and you're gonna have a choice, basically, you're gonna either listen to me, or you can leave. That's probably the ultimatum that Aokiji was going to give Akainu, same one Akainu gave Aokiji. With that being said, I do not think Akainu would stick around. I think he would do the exact same thing Aokiji would have done, and he would have just left the Marines right there, because he's like, you know, just like Aokiji couldn't flourish under Akainu, it's the same exact way, vice versa. They're like they're two opposites. They respect each other as colleagues, but they're just opposites. They can't, you know, exist in the same, like, higher positions like that. So Akainu would leave. However, the way Akainu would leave is entirely different from what Aokiji did. Aokiji basically became, like, a hermit. You know, he put on the really thick trench coat and a giant penguin named Camel, and he decided just to, I don't know, travel the oceans. He eventually became allied with the Blackbeard pirates. We have no idea what the whole circumstances are there. We know for a fact Akainu would not do that, given his sense of justice. You know, and he's just kind of out there wandering the oceans. What's he exactly up to? What is his motive? We don't know. However, Akainu's motive, we do know, because we can he's a very kind of simple guy to understand. We know that he would not ally with the pirates. He would try to fight them. So he would basically become, like, the One Piece equivalent of Batman, I want to say, barring Dragon. I'm not saying he would join the revolutionaries, because he wouldn't. He still is against the revolutionaries. He's still against the pirates. So he would probably just form his own group, a la Zephyr, with, like, the Neo Marines, and he would start attacking pirates under, you know, his own rules. He's like, you know what, the Marines, you know, they're being led by a freaking weak sauce, lazy piece of shit. I'm gonna start my own Marines with blackjack and hookers. In fact, forget the blackjack, you know, okay. He's going to start his own group, and he's going to go out there, and he's going to recruit people that he thinks are strong. Strong people would, of course, flock to him, that have a strong sense of justice and everything. He might, you know, the thing is, like, how the recruiting process would work. He would definitely not recruit pirates, because that's just not what he's about. But he would probably find some pretty strong, there's some strong apples in the One Piece world that aren't allied with any side, that aren't necessarily pirates, that aren't necessarily Marines. There's some strong guys out there you can find. What do you think happened with Fujitora and Green Bull? Those were strong dudes that were just chilling around. They weren't pirates, they weren't Marines until the draft happened, and then they just joined up. So, yeah, I'm sure Akainu could find some people with maybe some devil fruit powers, people that know how to use hockey. Somewhere in the New World, he would find followers. Don't worry about that. And his reputation kind of speaks for itself, you know? I'm the guy that killed Fire Fist Ace. Join up with me. Or he could just threaten them, you know? Or I'll burn your entire house down, you know? Whichever. So, you know, it would be against justice for someone of your strength to not follow me. Follow me or I kill you. Or maybe he just might do an act like brute strength kind of deal. Like, you know, kind of like Toguro in Yu Yu Hakusho. He just went around and beat down Bui and Karasu, and they just joined him afterwards. Might be something like that. So yeah, we would probably see something with that, like Neo Marines, except being led by Akainu, which I think in and of itself is a pretty cool concept. You know, you have a bunch of like Marine ships, except instead of the Marine design, there's like flames and lava on the side of them. Really cool. Someone should design that. Someone should design like Akainu's personal, like private army flag or Jolly Roger. That would be really neat. It wouldn't be a Jolly Roger, it'd be like an icon. That would be neat. You know, and then you have all these strong people that are really strong and just completely adhere to his ideology of absolute justice. He wouldn't have recruited them otherwise. Really tough as nails kind of dudes. And ladies too. I'm sure Akainu's not sexist. And he would probably just go around and probably, you know, beat down pirates as basically a vigilante group. And eventually, after this group got big enough, he would probably attempt to take down one of the Yonkos himself. And it might even become, and it wouldn't be on the same level as the Marines, it wouldn't be on the same level as a Yonko crew, because it was like just started after the 2 years, but it would probably be formidable after the 2-year time skip, probably a pretty decent crew that he would have there for his little organization. Now, as for Aokiji, as a fleet admiral, what would he be doing? Alright, well, I don't see him being as direct as Akainu. I don't see him doing the whole flipping thing between the bases. I think he would keep things relatively the same as Sengoku had it, except, you know, he would focus more on reconstruction at the moment, and he would be like, okay, you know, he understands the whole situation, what happened with Blackbeard in the war. He would probably not view it as a victory. He would view it as, like, the Marines need restructuring. They need something else going on. Aokiji would definitely not reward people like Akainu's ideology with, like, absolute justice. You know, this is the way we are. If anything, I could see Aokiji doing something very similar to what Fujitora did at the end of Dressrosa, where Fujitora, you know, was, like, bowing to all the people, like, we're sorry that this happened. I could see Aokiji coming out as Fleet Admiral and being like, I mean, the world nobles and the fucking Gorosei might not be happy about this, but I could see him saying, like, listen, guys, look, I know the whole world is celebrating our victory right now, but you have to understand, this threat is far from over. We did not win this fight, but I am going to try my hardest to bring in the pirates. I will try as hard as I can to take back, you know, to take out Blackbeard for what he did to us. But just to understand, you know, the Marines, like, need help here, and we're going to try to recruit people that are going to help us in this fight, and we will emerge victorious. Maybe something along those lines that he would come out and say. And it would kind of soften the overall image of the Marines a little bit. Maybe more people would be willing to support the cause because Aokiji is just so transparent. Keep in mind, even being Fleet Admiral, he would still be limited to what he could do and say, thanks to the Gorosei, but that's just the kind of attitude Aokiji has. He would view it as like, let's try not to, we can't just turn into a war machine. We can't just become like this hard, tough-as-nails thing that just starts bashing the pirates' skulls in, because that's going to make us the bad guys after we do that for long enough, because that's how justice shifts. You know, it's a constantly shifting paradigm, the concept of justice. So he would be much more upfront, much more encouraging of people in the Marines to try to get stronger, but he would not view it as just like, look, if you view the world in black and white, we don't want you here. With that being said, I think Aokiji would take a much more kind of tactical approach in taking down the Yonko, probably relying more on the cipher pull agencies, using the cipher pull agencies to kind of like maybe infiltrate the Yonko pirate crews, figure out what's going on, maybe see if they have any major weaknesses. In Big Mom's case, they totally do. You should go check out Joy Boy's video. And maybe try to take them down from within, rather than Akainu's, you know, just like, you know, mobilize everybody and then just go right at it kind of attitude. I think that's something Aokiji would do much better way of taking out a Yonko crew than Akainu would. Also, I don't even think Aokiji would try to take down all of the Yonko, because I think that's kind of a fever dream. I don't think you could manage that. Like, for example, Aokiji would be aware that Big Mom and Kaido's way of reigning is way worse than Shanks is. Okay, Shanks is a pirate. Shanks, though, he's not a bad guy, alright? Kaido and Big Mom, on the other hand, you know, if they got their hands on the One Piece, if they got their hands on the title of King of the Pirates, there's some pretty bad stuff that would happen. Aokiji would see that as the main threat, and he would try to take them down first. Oh, Blackbeard most definitely as well. Blackbeard would probably be the main threat, of course. Blackbeard is like, you know, chaotic evil to like the highest degree, so obviously he would be the main threat. Aokiji and Blackbeard would not be having an alliance sort of thing as they do now. If Aokiji stayed with the Fleet Admiral of the Marines, he would not be associated with Blackbeard in the same way he is now, obviously. By the way, though, that also kind of means in this parallel universe we're creating, Smoker kinda dies, because at the end of Punk Hazard, you know, most of the stuff with the Straw Hats would probably play out relatively the same way over Fishman Island and Punk Hazard. At the end of Punk Hazard, Smoker's there, Doflamingo shows up, Dofi's pissed, starts beating the crap out of Smoker. In the original timeline, Aokiji's the one that shows up and saves him, but Aokiji's a Fleet Admiral. He's not just going to be wandering the seas like a vagabond. He's not going to be there to save him, so Dofi's probably just going to straight up kill Smoker. So if you were a Smoker fan, you're probably not a fan of this timeline. I don't think Akainu would show up and save him. I don't think that's how that would go down. Maybe it would, but I don't see it happening. So Smoker's dead in this version. I apologize. But for most of the stuff involving the Straw Hats, probably not anything major. Later down in the story, we're going to have more confrontations between the Straw Hats and the Admirals and Sakazuki and everything, but that just hasn't happened yet. It's mostly focused on the Yonko. So Aokiji would focus on Blackbeard, and then beyond Blackbeard, Big Mom and Kaido, but he would, like, Shanks is not a major threat. I mean, he's a Yonko, but if Shanks, he has no interest in getting the One Piece, he has no interest in the poneglyphs, you know, we don't have to worry about him right now. We have to worry about these other guys, Blackbeard in particular. Now, as for the admirals that he would recruit, what would be the situation there? You know, because you just have Kizaru that's still there. And by the way, I wonder why Kizaru wasn't, offered the position or recommended to become Fleet Admiral. Like, I mean, I understand, like, Aokiji didn't want the position either, but why did Sengoku recommend Aokiji and not Kizaru? I mean, he's not as bad as Akainu is. Oh, wait, no, I think I know a reason. I think I know the reason. Oh, alright there, Sengoku, so you recommend Aokiji for the next Fleet Admiral position. Yeah, Kong, I just don't think Akainu's right for it. I mean, he's just way too direct with his approach. Yeah, right. What about Kizaru? Oh, Borsalino? Well, you know, he's not like a bad guy or anything. I mean, I guess he might do a good job, but let's be honest here, the dude is high like 80% of the time, and everyone knows a good military leader can only be high 25% of the time, you know, maybe 30% max. I mean, come on now. Yeah, I get it. Sometimes it doesn't even look like he knows where he's at. Alright, I'll put in this recommendation. Yeah, I think that makes sense, don't you? Really? But yeah, maybe Kizaru just didn't have any interest in it, period, and it's just he's more of the middle ground there. So, they would hold a world military draft, as I stated, probably the same thing with Akainu, and, I think the overall people that would become admirals would be maybe a little different. Maybe Fujitora might still become an admiral, because I think Aokiji and Fujitora's attitudes on this are more similar than Akainu's and Fujitora's, you know, considering what happened at the end of Dressrosa. As for Green Bull, we know absolutely nothing about him. Maybe he would still be an admiral, maybe not, or maybe there would be someone else that he would recruit to become the new one. Maybe someone within the Marines themselves. Maybe he would promote a vice admiral to the position. Who knows? You know, he would obviously probably cater to people that he himself likes. You know, Aokiji would. So that's the situation there. Also, at the end of Dressrosa, when Fujitora did he lays prostrate and he apologizes on the Marines' behalf, Akainu gets pissed at him for doing that, and he's like, you will not come back to another Navy base until you've captured the Straw Hats. I will not allow you to do that because you've ruined our good name as Marines. You've ruined our strong image. Aokiji would be a lot more forgiving for that. He would look at the situation and he would be like, you know what? You're absolutely right. You're absolutely right with what you did there. There might be a punishment, but it wouldn't be as serious as what Akainu did. Now, how would Aokiji get along with the Gorosei? See, this is where Aokiji is a lazy guy, so I feel like overall, being a Fleet Admiral, he might defer a lot of his actions to people underneath him. He might recruit some people, like his admirals from within the Marines, that share his ideology, and he might defer it to them just because of his laziness, just in general. But in terms of, like, the big decisions, of course he would still make those, and he would have to confer with the Gorosei. I have this strange feeling that Aokiji would not fight against the Gorosei's will as much as Sakazuki would. I feel like Sakazuki, you know, after the whole incident in Dressrosa, he's gonna bite tooth and nail. I feel like after the situation at Dressrosa, he is gonna fight tooth and nail against the Gorosei. He's really gonna grind up against their actions and try to, like, fight against them, even if it's futile. I feel like Sakazuki would be the guy to do that. You know, because he's like, I know that I'm right. I know what I'm doing is correct. These guys are the ones that are corrupt. He might start viewing it like that. Sakazuki might. Kuzan might not. Kuzan might, at the beginning anyway, might accept more of their views. Unless it's something really major. Unless it tells him to do something that he absolutely, like on the level of the Ohara thing, where if the Gorosei or the World Nobles give Kuzan an order to, like, kill a bunch of civilians, Kuzan would be like, I'm not doing that. Or he might play it around with, like, oh, you ordered me to do that? Oh, I was asleep the whole time. Or, oh, I didn't hear you. Or, oh, something else happened. You know, the Straw Hats showed up and screwed everything up, so I couldn't complete your actions as requested. Derpity-doo. He might do something like that to kind of make sure he wasn't the bad guy at the end of the day. But I feel like he's not as he's not as ambitious, I guess, in the regard as Sakazuki is. Maybe that's a better way to put it there. So yeah, I think Aokiji would have made a good fleet admiral. I think it would have really changed the image of the Marines, though, and the way that the story is going, and we're in the new world now, this is some serious shit going on, I think the way Oda had to do it, not the way he could have done, the way he had to do it, is he had to have Akainu be the new fleet admiral. He had to have this kind of like tough as nails, you know, bring us to the next level because this is the new world. And Akainu is the perfect kind of person to represent that now. Aokiji, on the other hand, is not quite on that level. The Marines, let me keep in mind, but before I go, I'm not saying under Aokiji's rule the Marines would turn soft and everyone gets a fluffy little kitten to pet. I'm just saying that it wouldn't be as tough as nails as they are now with Akainu. I think that's a fair assessment to make. I think Aokiji would be much more of like a masterful chess player, you know, playing the games like, all right, Blackbeard is over here. All right, I'm going to move my pieces here. Cypher Pole, you know, everything much more tactical in that regard rather than the way that, you know, Akainu would have done it. So, yeah. But what do you guys think? What do you guys think the major, you know, changes that would occur? And of course, later on in the story, you know, how would that go down? Because I think, like, Luffy or maybe Sabo are going to have a direct fight against Akainu. I think that kind of has to happen. And that could still happen in our parallel universe. If Akainu goes out and starts his own little crew, then, you know, they could still be a fight. He's not dead. He's still around. You know, in that case, I just don't see Akainu allying with any pirate crews or anything. He would just make his own. But I think at the end of the story in this parallel world, it would be Aokiji becoming the allies of the Straw Hats. Near the end of the story, everything's winding down and there's this big epic brawl. I could see Aokiji approaching the Straw Hats and being like, all right, we're all on the same side this time. You guys are trying to fight down. Like, let's say there's this big war against Blackbeard and the Straw Hats are there and the Whitebeard pirates are there and you know, everyone's there and the Marines arrive and it's like, all right, Straw Hat, you're pirates, but they're obviously the evil ones. We're obviously good in this sense and we're justice in this idea. We're all justice here, so I'll give you our full support to fight against the Blackbeard pirates. That's how Aokiji would do it. Definitely not the way Sakazuki would. But yeah, let me know below what you think. Thanks to Petrus for this idea for this video. Hope you guys enjoyed Sock Puppet Theater. Maybe we might bring that back in the future. I don't know if you guys enjoyed. Yeah, thanks for watching, everybody. This will be Tekking101 signing out!